you got in that bag?
Well, I've got a lot of junk food in here. And the thing about junk food is if you're going to eat highly processed food, you have to do it right. Because, I mean, you know it's going to take its toll, so you have to make it count. Now, I don't recommend this way of eating. And I'm not saying I do it all the time. But occasionally, I kind of love to just splurge. And so, I got Ruffles jalapeno ranch for a little savory and salty. And I've got Hostess cupcakes, but the orange flavor. Now, this is kind of a rare find. Not every place has these. You can find the chocolate ones, and you can find the vanilla ones, and you can even find the pink snowballs. But if you can stumble across the orange ones, man, get them, because they're freaking rad. Now, if you're gonna eat your Ruffles and your orange cupcakes, you have to have something to wash it down with, because it's a little dry. And the liquid that I would wash it down with is good old Mountain Dew. The interesting thing about Mountain Dew, when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, I didn't like it. But for some reason, I live in the southeast, and it's like, I don't know, when in Rome. It's kind of that kind of thing, Like, if you can't beat them, join them. That's how I feel about it, And, sometimes when you're feeling real down about your life, real depressed, don't know what to do. I mean, there's prayer, which is something you ought to do. Read your Bible. You ought to do that. But dang it, if half a bottle of Mountain Dew won't cure what ails you, I don't know what will. And then, I can't just be eating carbs all the time, so I've got to add protein into it. So for me, a Jack Link's peppered beef steak piece of beef jerky. This is high quality meat right here. It's $3. I believe this was $2.79. This is not your most expensive beef jerky, and I feel like the expensive beef jerky that you can get in there, you can get a bag of it for $18. I feel like they're kind of fooling us with that, because they don't send the best cows to the beef jerky factory. They send the worst ones. So I find that I get as much joy from a $2.79 Jack Link's peppered beef jerky. That's a good fill of protein for me. And then I like a little chocolate, little after dinner chocolate to go to finish off my meal. So I'll dive into a Kit Kat here. But I can't personally end the night with just something so decadent as the chocolate found in a Kit Kat. I've got to end on something sour, like I love sour candy. I love anything sour, Warheads or Lemon Heads. They didn't have any of those in there, but I got myself some Airheads Extreme Sour Bites. Taste the rainbow. Now, I know Skittles says taste the rainbow, but I think the rainbow can be tasted even more so in an Airheads Extreme Sour Bite. And I'm telling you, if America isn't good for anything, the joy of going to the convenience store and getting all this is kind of like one of the best things that there really is out there. In Jesus' name, amen.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message data rates may apply. It's reiterate. Big and batch and shape fast. Absolutely. NPR's Tiny Desk. In 8th place in franchise history. Shot clock that is. Gives it to Rozier. If it's going nice out. And afterwards, and before September break. Questions and comments and things like that.
Encouraging and motivating.
Here is a prophetic word for you. You are not special. You are a regular person with a job and a daily life. You are not a history maker. You have a destiny, but it's a regular one. You will never be a household name. You are not a revolution. You do not hold the line. You won't win the argument. You won't be in the ministry. But if you find someday that you are, don't count on being successful. You will find yourself living in the middle of a temporary kingdom, and you will plant a garden. The garden you plant will not be an idealized, romanticized kind. It will be the kind where your lack of a green thumb will hound you for the first few years, where the reality of weeds and pests and ill-conceived irrigation systems will force you to surrender some of your original assumptions about the universe. You will be abased and you will abound. Make sure you know how to do both. You will have one or two friends. Let them encourage you with candy bars and Mountain Dew. Some of your days will be wonderful, but most of them will be boring. Never mind that. There is nothing like a boring day for being alive and thanking God. You will be met with the temptation to long for the good old days, back when God used to show up and do things. Don't you dare do it. Don't be afraid of being in exile in a strange season. Economic forces will cause migration. You may migrate. Blessed are you when you no longer have any context for what is happening. Blessed are you when you are drowning in the flood of critical analysis being offered. Blessed are you when every North Star has vaporized. Embrace the dryness of your heart. Embrace your lack of words. Embrace the lack of ecstasy and revelation. Go to the movies. Go fishing. Get some work done. Have some kids. Don't go into debt as much as possible. As far as your salvation goes, your devotion to God counts for absolutely nothing. I stumbled into the writing side of this just out of a need. So I made this record called Poet Priest and spent a bunch of money on it, and had zero marketing budget to promote the album with. So it's just, I was working with this team of designers out of California, and they said, man, why don't you just write some Instagram posts about what your songs are about? And that is literally the seed idea of this whole thing that I've stepped into. And when I did that, I pulled on an instinct. It's the same instinct that I utilized during the writing process for my last two records, which I'm in the Christian marketplace, and within Christian music and Christian writing, publishing, there are forms that exist. And there are forms, there are templates that if you follow them, you have a better chance of gaining an audience. But those things don't interest me. I'm not saying they're bad, and I'm not saying it's not appropriate for other artists to follow those lines, those ways of doing it, but I couldn't do it. It's just in my heart, I wasn't interested in talking about my life that way and talking about God that way. So when it came to writing out these missives on Instagram, I think my one rule was don't bore yourself. Like, so it's kind of why I'm kind of like, my style is like, I am all over the map in a lot of these essays. They don't really flow. Like, they're not rational in that I'm connecting one idea to the next. Although I am, but I'm the work that I'm doing is more of a poet's work in that I'm connecting seemingly disparate things, and saying this thing is like this thing. On the surface, they're nothing alike, but really they're all connected.
What's this essay about your writing?
I woke up this morning and the first thought that I had was this: I refuse to live untethered from a local church because unlimited autonomy has never produced healthy results in my life. And that sentence just came to me, and that's generally how ideas or essays come into play. There's always a line, there's a concept, a theme. So while that may be true, that idea has some problems associated with it, because it's like, just simply
associating yourself to a church is probably not the answer too, because there's plenty of places that I don't want to be as connected to. So it's not as if I'm saying all local churches are, my cup of tea, or, So my next line, so I'm thinking through that problem, and I say, however, I refuse to let myself be swept up in a church that is really just a cult of personality disguised as something Christian, where normal people have no chance, where exceptional people are lauded as an ideal, where grace is an idea rather than a reality. So, I think in my heart, the thing that I'm fighting for, at least in my own life, and if not for other people, is I'm fighting against this dynamic of disconnection that I see so prevalent everywhere. And clearly the church has not gotten so much, or we've gotten a lot incorrect. And so the church experiment itself is fraught with issues. But at least for myself, I think that abandoning that project is a bad solution. It's the wrong solution. So anyways, that was the stuff that I woke up this morning thinking about, and so I grabbed my iPhone, which is always the nearest thing, sad as that is, but I just started writing myself a little email, and I sent it to myself, and then I usually just copy and paste whatever hot idea that I've had and put it on a Word doc and just go to town on it, so. Well, there have been unspoken rules within music, especially in writing also, where we have given our allegiance to something other than art. So maybe we might say that the quote cause is dictating to artists what they can and cannot talk about. And what that, at least by my limited observation, my estimation is that what has been produced over the last few decades, maybe 50 or 60 years at least, within Northern American evangelical Christian output in these art categories, it has left us, or at least me, I should say it that way, feeling like we have no heart. So we've adopted into a utilitarian motivation where we have these pretend metrics of getting people saved or convincing people to go to our church, or and rather than telling artists, man, what you should do is you should just go make great art and don't worry about if it sounds Christian or not. Christ is hard to follow. There is a relief that comes from abandoning faith in God. It is, in a sense, like removing a yoke. Even light and easy burdens weigh on us. Admittedly, Christian belief and practice are, if at least attempted, costly. Faith is not pragmatic. New Testament ethics are problematic. And hope, contrary to Romans 5:5, is often disappointing, deferred, and frequently makes us heartsick. There are many different reasons people leave Christ. Some experience insurmountable heartbreak and find that they are unable to make sense of their suffering. Others simply just want to set out for a while and see the world on their own without having to adhere to any particular Christian belief. Still others conclude that life is too short to cling to traditional bygone meta-narratives. Whatever a person's reason for departing may be, leaving often affords a very real and enjoyable thrill, symptomatic of trading in the old and difficult for the new and easy. For a season at least, the new God is better than the old God. But gods are fickle and cannot help but overpromise and underdeliver. Each particular god will require something of us, which we will ultimately find impossible to pay. But as any respectable devil at the crossroads knows, you can't close the deal by telling the truth. The gods of self, of power, and of pleasure each persuade potential proselytes by promising satisfaction, or if not satisfaction, at least a respite from existential realities. But this is an ancient tale. New gods quickly become hard taskmasters who require their adherents to be their slaves. Christ never overpromises or underdelivers. He is underwhelming and bad at public relations, but he is trustworthy. In the world you will have trouble. They will hate you for my sake. I am going away. You will weep and mourn while the world rejoices, etc. Christ is the anti-hero of the gods, bearer of troubling promises, and reluctant to display power. Christ is hard to follow because we desire pleasure and power, and he is not offering us any. We hoped God was a God, but he is not. He is God. What he offers is himself, and for many of us, that is the greatest disappointment of all. This is a song I wrote called Utah by Tomorrow. Half the sky's dark, but I can see it. Rain is falling in my margarita. Deer are grazing over in the meadow. We are finally somewhere only we know. Cutting onions with you and I'm crying. Cutting up and we're not even trying. Chicken chili cooking on the fire. Let's say grace. I lost my voice in Wichita, standing on the banks of the Arkansas. A river will find you out. A river will cure your doubt. Drive all night to Colorado, Utah by tomorrow. A river will ease your fears. A river will wash your tears away. Baby, deal the cards, I'm gonna beat you. After midnight, I'm gonna meet you. Living all these hard years together. Oh, love, you never look better. God's good, the kids are finally sleeping. We're broke, I think the roof is leaking. It's chilly, turn up the heater. All is grace. I lost my voice in Wichita, standing on the banks of the Arkansas. A river will find you out. A river will cure your doubt. Drive all night to Colorado, Utah by tomorrow. A river will ease your fears. A river will wash your tears. Come out young, going old, baptized in that mountain cold, water golden with the Spirit's grace. Bahamas sand is not for us, our love is Midwestern dust, sorghum fields that take your breath away. I lost my voice in Wichita, standing on the banks of the Arkansas. A river will find you out. A river will cure your doubt. Drive all night to Colorado, Utah by tomorrow. A river will ease your fears. A river will wash your tears away.